So something I wanted to talk about was the labor theory of value. Now, mind you, I'm not going to link to any book or any article or anything of that sort. It should be something you should know. As I was installing Dawn of War, I called tech support about it, and tech support unfortunately could not help me. He was a nice guy, but he didn't know what was wrong because his company's a piece of shit. And he did his best, and he got me going in the right direction. And from there, I had to basically go into my computer, put down my firewall, reconfigure some standards in order to get this game to work. Now, mind you, it's not that difficult. You don't have to know JavaScript to get this to work, but it helps. In any situation where you don't know what you're doing, it helps to have a little knowledge of JavaScript. And I did look up some videos of that about a year ago, and knowledge stuck. And it got me to thinking about how little we give ourselves credit for all the shit we do in a day, and how we let the bourgeoisie tell us what to do when we're the ones doing the work. Think about this for a second. I bought the game with the money that I worked for. So I worked for the money to pay for the game. The game doesn't work. I worked to send it back to tell them, hey, something's wrong with it. They wiped their ass with it. They told me I just didn't put the CDs in the right order. I put the CDs in the right order. It doesn't work. I call tech support. It doesn't work. I have to reconfigure everything. And then I have to put in all the key codes again. This is a fucking series of 20 character codes like 4 or 5 times. Think about that. Think about all the writing I have to do, all the memorization, just to get this fucking game to work. And you're gonna tell me that I have to pay for the game? Fuck you. So this is why I'm for piracy and also for SOPA. I'm for SOPA because of the regulations it would do to the internet to stop the bourgeoisie. But I am for piracy because you know what? You don't need to pay for shit. You work hard enough to earn it. You don't need to fucking have their okay to play a game. You don't need their okay to download something because you worked your ass off for it. It takes a lot of effort to do anything. And that's what the bourgeoisie doesn't understand. That's what capitalists don't understand. They think they're entitled to ownership, but you're not entitled to anything you're not willing to work for. And for capitalists to say that we are lazy and we just want welfare checks and shit, it's ridiculous. Because we know the value of labor. That's why we're communists and socialists and anarchists. Because we see that it's being taken for granted. When you see someone working at McDonald's, dealing with shitty customers and, cooking at the grill and dealing with all the stress of people with different orders and having to remember those different orders and, they're making the food and they're giving it to people and people are snobby and trashy to them and they deal with that all day long, every single day, and then they get a measly minimum wage paycheck because someone in upper management is dictating their amount of money they make. Why? Is management having to deal with all that stress? The only stress management has to deal with is, the banking. They have to deal with the allocation of the money and then redistributing it. They have to deal with, the management of the store itself, the restaurant, and, making sure everything's running properly. But they of themselves are not doing the work. They are merely being a leader. They are merely controlling where units go to make sure everything's running stable. To say that management is somehow more inclined to have money than the worker is insane. It's just pure madness because everyone has to do their part in order for the social dynamic to function. How is it that capitalists can believe in subjective value to labor in that they can be paid different amounts based on what the employer wants to pay them, but yet they cannot believe in subjective value of labor that everyone is doing their part already. Everyone is busting their ass in their own way. It might not be your way, but it is not to say that they're just sitting on their ass not doing anything at all. So why then do some people get to dictate the pay and the treatment of others? That makes no sense. That is the value of labor. The value of labor is that we don't need management. We don't need people telling us how much we need to get paid. We don't need the incentive of starvation and threats of losing our house, and that we need money to have things in order to work. We work because, that's how we have things. We work so that society can function. We work so that things run properly. We don't need to be threatened or to, be forced into this position of having to work. I did that work on my own. I didn't do it because, I was forced to. If I didn't do the work, I wouldn't get the game. My only problem with it is that I paid for a fucking game, and I had to do all the work anyway. For that matter, I could have just pirated the bitch. And you know what I plan to do? I plan to give my key codes out so that other people can have the game. As long as you have the basic programming, you can use my key codes, and then you could have the game too. Why shouldn't I? I paid for the game, and I did all the work. I think I'm in charge of that. I'm in charge of the key code now. As far as I'm concerned, Dawn of War is owned by Jim Profit. Not just Dawn of War the CD, not just Dawn of War my particular key code, but Dawn of War the fucking title and the fucking game itself. I worked my ass off to fucking install that game, and I got no help along the way. I basically had to wing it and just improvise. So, you know what? Dawn of War belongs to me now, and it's going to belong to all of you. So, it's just that simple. That's the way you have to look at this. If you work, you are entitled, It doesn't matter what you do for a living. The fact is, society would not be able to function without you. Whether it's cleaning up people's shit as a janitor, or, installing windows, or being a tech support guy, or anything. If you work, society needs you. And they should pay more attention to your needs and to your wants, but they don't, because they're ungrateful and they're assholes. But, this idea that somehow we have to respect other people's property, and, they can do what they want to you because it's their property in terms of service. No, motherfucker. I work just like everybody else, and if it wasn't for me, you'd all be dead. You'd all either be dead or crawling in the mud, wiping your ass with your hand. Because if everyone just decided one day to stop working, nothing would function. Then it wouldn't matter what you own. You could say all day long that you own the land, and you own the resources, and you own the franchise, and you own the trademark. It wouldn't fucking matter, because it wouldn't work, because someone wasn't willing to put their effort into making it work. So that's what people need to take into consideration. I'm not telling you that, everything will just come free in life. But what I'm telling you is that since you work, you are entitled to free healthcare. You are entitled to an education. You are entitled to housing. You're entitled to everything to equip you with the health, mentally and physically, that you need to work and to make society better and to function better. Everything would function better if their needs were met and provided for. And we need to stop looking at it as some little fucking retard can just, dictate everything and have his little crown on his head and control all the means of production because he owns it, because he says he owns it, and because he can hire some gunmen to, protect his ownership. That's the only thing keeping capitalists in positions of power, is the fact that they have cops and every other armed thug in the world to point guns at the worker's head and to stop them from taking over. But that's the thing, even those guys are doing their job. Even if their job is to be a class traitor, the fact is, they choose to get up every morning to point their gun at the other workers like the fucking Uncle Toms that they are. If they stopped pointing their guns, there'd be no one to protect the bourgeoisie. If the workers stopped going to work, there'd be no one to produce for the bourgeoisie. The bourgeoisie is a parasite and needs to be done away with. And that's what I'm trying to say here. And I could probably do it better, but I just can't think of the words right now. So I'm nearing 10 minutes, so maybe I'll do another video later. See you later.